So again, thank y'all for coming out. I know it's very difficult to come out on a school night after work or whatever you had going on, so we thank you for that. My name is Shavon Cormick. I'm with Keller Williams Realty and the Baptiste Realty Group. I have Brandy Moore in the back. Raise your hand, Brandy. She's also one of my group members, and then Leah Camacho is also in the group. And we have some other realtors here shadowing us tonight, so thank y'all for coming as well. And we have some other folks coming on through. So today, we will have the experts speaking to you. So we have Ryan Stewart with First Bank Texas. He'll be talking about mortgages. We have Mr. Derek Walls, who owns Superior Superior Real Estate Inspections, talking about the inspection process, which is really, really important for the home ownership process. And then we have John Witherax, who is actually the sales associate for this community, Parkview Estates. So in the end, he will give you a tour of this home, which you probably already saw, but he'll tell you some of the features and what else D.R. Horton actually has to offer in the DFW area. So I want to start with the boring stuff first. This is information about brokerage services. So if you are working with me or have worked with me or whatever, you should have received this. If you didn't, just talk to me later because I should have did this. Information about brokerage services is a form that the Texas Real Estate Commission gives out. That form, the Texas Real Estate Commission, is really to protect you as a consumer, not us as the agent. So if you have a complaint, anything like that, that is who you go to against an agent. I am not advocating for that because I am an agent. I'm just telling you where you could go. But this form here is literally just the information form giving you explanations of what real estate services we should be providing to you. So it will tell you the types of license holders in Texas. There's only two: a real estate salesperson and a broker. If somebody tell you that anything else, somebody lying. It gives the duties and things, the minimum requirements from us by law. At the end of the day, we have a fiduciary duty to you. So we are supposed to do what's best for you. So for example, if you're out shopping and you have a $350,000 budget, but you say you only want to spend $340, and I'm telling you, girl, you just go ahead and do it. I'm supposed to be doing what's in the best interest for you, because the more money you spend, the more money I make, right? But I would prefer for you to be financially sound, working with a lender, things like that. It also discusses what intermediary is. So basically, I have a license as a real estate agent, and my broker supervises my license. My brokerage is Keller Williams. And so there are times in my office, there are over 300 agents, where my broker has both the buyer and the seller. That's called intermediary. We are assigned. So I may be assigned to the seller. You may be assigned, somebody else may be assigned to the buyer. But ultimately, we are supposed to be doing what is fair and just for both parties. So I say everybody needs to walk away feeling comfortable with the transaction that they just had. So each person, every time we have a substantial conversation about real estate, you should be signing this. This does not tie you to me as an agent, but this is just giving you the information you are supposed to have. So that's what this is. So if you haven't signed one, I'm going to probably have you sign one tonight, because you will have a substantial conversation about real estate with somebody tonight. I hope y'all already got one, because I think you did. See, that means I did my job. But we wanted to bring you here today to bring the experts, teach you a little something about the home buying process. And ultimately, I want to ask you to think about these three things. Why are you contemplating home ownership? And once you think about your why, then what's stopping you from doing it? Like, what would your life be like if you stayed the same? So if you continue to live in that apartment, or you continue to live in the rent house, or wherever you are with family, wherever you're currently living, what is that costing you right now, mentally, physically, financially? Things like that I want you to think about, because we often think about our first home or even buying a home as a dream home process. But actually, your first home, John and I were just discussing this, your first home should be just like that first car. I did not come from a well-to-do family, so my first car was a 1988 Toyota Camry with the seatbelt. So when you came in, the seatbelt came with you, right? And I had a CD player, I had all that, but it was a 1988. We just upgraded some things, right? That car got me where I needed to go. It got me to work. It got me almost through college till I had to get me a 2005 Honda Civic. And then I'm not into cars, right? So I just keep buying the same car. So in 2016, I bought a 2016 Honda Civic, right? But by then I had my house, I had everything I needed. So when you look at the home buying process, think of it as an investment in baby steps. Buy the first house, it might be small, but then you sell it, use the equity from it to buy the dream house. So the first house is the house that you actually build the dream in. It don't have to be the biggest house on the block. So I just want you to think of that when you're thinking about the home buying process. Now we'll turn it over to Mr. Derek to teach you about inspections, and after that we will have a door prize.
Hello everyone. I don't know if I want to follow up after that. You sound like you've been preparing since January. But hey, again, my name is Derek Walls. I am a real estate inspector. Been doing this for 17 years, so have a ton of experience under my belt. One of the things I want to start out by saying is to kind of piggyback off what Shavon is saying. I always like to use the analogy of test driving. So like I always say, because people always want to under the impression that new construction, no, I don't need an inspection. But I definitely beg to differ. I mean, because you just consider the fact that this is probably the biggest investment, single investment that you're gonna make in your lifetime, or one of anyway. So why would you want to skimp on it? So I just ask anyone, would you ever buy a car and not test drive? Ever? Probably not, right? So what you're doing in essence is you're hiring us to use our expertise to test drive that house for you. And so one of the things that we'll do is when we come in, we will purposely turn all the lights in the house on, so that when we are running the appliances, like a lot of people don't realize it, but pay attention sometimes when you're running your microwave. You'll notice that when that thing cycles, a lot of times lights will get dim. I mean, because they pull a lot of power. So when we have that microwave going, the oven going, the dishwasher going, we're purposely trying to see is the fact that we're running all these things at once going to cause a problem with your electrical system, and oftentimes it does. So what we're doing, like I said, I always just go back to the analogy with test driving a car. I know me personally, if I'm going to buy a car from you and I test drive it, I don't want you in there with me because I'm getting ready to push it to the floor. So, I mean, because you think about it, the best way to find a problem is to push whatever it is to the limit. You're going to push and say, how is this thing going to respond when I'm trying to merge out in the traffic? How is this thing going to respond? Because you know you're that speedy driver. So you want to know that house is going to stand up and give you what you need for your daily lives. So I always just emphasize, get it inspected, even if it's new construction. And another reason to just kind of expand on that is, builders are going to do their best to put out the best product that they can. But as we know, what changes things is when pressure gets applied. When people start getting under pressure, then things start to happen. Things start to creep in there. And that's what you're hiring us for. Because, I mean, as an example, you get an electrician, he got to wire 10 houses that day, and he's running off schedule. He has some crew members didn't show up or whatever. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he still got 7 more houses to go. And he knows your water heater's supposed to be on a 30 amp breaker. He goes in his truck and he got a 50. What do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna get a 50 amp breaker on your water heater. And I'm not saying anybody's dishonest or whatnot, but again, we all know how it is though when pressure gets applied. Things start changing. And so that's one of the things I like to emphasize. And then again, too, like even with appliances, your appliances, they are covered. And I guess I've got the gentleman's name over there. He'll probably expand a little bit more on that. But they generally come with like a 1-year warranty. But we oftentimes find issues when we're running those appliances, we're running everything else. We put that oven on, we put our thermometer in there, we set it on 350, and guess what? It's running at 425. Now, it may not seem like a big deal, but oftentimes when problems show up, when do they occur? At the least most favorite time to have, when you got all the family over, everybody's over, you're looking to have a good time, all of a sudden your air conditioner not cooling. And so that's why, again, you want to get those things checked out because there's so many things on you guys' plate when you're going through the home buying process. I mean, you're moving, you're coordinating things with your job, your work schedule, your kids, or whatever. there's so many things going on within that small window of time that some things in the home buying process or with that home can so easily be overlooked. So again, just hire professionals like us. We come in there, we'll, like I said, we'll test drive it for you. At the end of the day, we'll get about a 30-page, 40-page report, and it'll have color photos outlining everything, those things that you're not gonna see up on the roof, in the attic. You get photos of all of those things. You know, we go through the house and scan with infrared, just things that you guys will not see when you're going through the process of buying a house. So trust me, that's about the best $400 that you guys can spend. And just to kind of give you an idea too, that's on average right around that $400 mark is about where you'll be. Just depend. It'll vary based on the size of the house. But like I said, again, that's the best investment that you can make. And then one of the other pieces of advice I'll say before closing, I always say to try to minimize the number of family members that you bring to your inspection. because what my experience, my over 15 years of experience has been, is that you get all of these opinions coming into play, and some of them are good, but most of them aren't that great. You know, people, you get uncles and aunts that want to tell you about what it was like when they bought their house 20 years ago, and that just don't apply today. So just minimize, and trust me, it'll help reduce your stress level. Because you're trying to hear what we're saying, you're trying to hear what Auntie's saying, you're trying to hear what Uncle's saying, Uncle trying to out-talk Auntie. Hey, just keep it to a minimum. I will say, you know, you got a dad or somebody that's close, bring them in by all means for an extra set of ears. But that's all you need, one other opinion. I mean, you don't need 10 other opinions. I'm telling you, to be information overload real fast. But I won't take up a whole lot of your time, but please don't fall under the presumption that new construction, we don't need to get it inspected. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I actually was training an inspector once. He was inside the house, I was outside. We were running the AC, we always dropped it down really low. Like I told y'all, we pushed it to the extreme, 65 degrees what we had on. So the unit's running, and I'm out there by the unit while my trainee was inside. And all of a sudden I hear the unit make noise and shut down. Oh. I get on my phone, I say, hey, I don't want you to turn the air off. He said, I didn't touch the air. Hey, that boy went off on his own. You know, so again, if you don't get that inspection done just when you having that nice housewarming party, I mean, because if I didn't do it then, it was gonna be right when you all had your family over, you all excited. Next thing you know, it's July and your hair not on. And trust me, that's not gonna be a good experience in Texas. So anyway, like I said, I won't keep you guys very long, but I just wanted to emphasize the point of getting new construction inspection, because that is a very big myth and misnomenclature that people think they don't need to get new construction home inspected. So anyone have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. I've got some cards, and how do you gonna do, Shavon? How you gonna? I got a gift card too.
Oh, you do? Okay, well they gonna.
Oh, you gonna do that later or now?
We can do it. We can raffle it.
Yeah, I want to do it now. It's burning my pocket.
Let's do it. So, is there any warranty on the work that you do as far as an inspector?
Well, what we do, we have a third-party company that we use, and they do offer a 90-day warranty. What we do is when we do your inspection, we'll send you a link, and all you have to do is just go in there and enter your information, and then that automatically qualifies you for a 90-day home warranty. I mean, it's like about $1,500 or something. So like things, appliances, and I'll check to see what it is. But it covers things like appliances. It'll cover structural, but because it's free, it's like things like about $1,500. But you can add to it, because obviously they're trying to get you business, but they will give you that first amount for free. So yes.
So with the inspection report, right? Let's say there are like significant findings before you enter into purchasing the home. The person fixes them or whatever, whoever has to fix it. Do you come back out and re-inspect, or how do we know for sure?
That's called a repair inspection. Okay. And we do that. I mean, there's a charge for it. Okay. Generally it runs around like about $175. Okay. So it's a fraction of the cost of the original inspection. But that is something that we do. We don't do them as much on new construction, but we do have some people that do. You know, we just have some things that are significant enough that you would know. Like for instance, we do do room, we shoot every individual supply register where air is coming into the house. And you always get some that one room is gonna be hot and you're not getting airflow. We'll note that because we're shooting the temperature coming in. And that's something you guys wouldn't be able to do and know. And what we're looking at is, the way we judge the unit how it's performing is, does it drop the temperature 15 degrees or more? So if it goes in at 70 and it's not coming out at least 55, then we show you those photos, we'll write it up and say it's not cooling properly. So those are the type of things that you want, you know, someone that's really taking close reading and paying attention to that. Okay, so everybody's name in that?
Yeah.
All right. My head is turned, so I'm not biased. I'm not biased. Okay. We have Doug E. Fresh. Is that Doug? There you go, man. $25 gift card for Lowe's. You buy a new house. Hey, man, get you a new rug. Thank you. I'm dropping off my card.
So he'll be here for a little bit, and then you can have his cards as well. So when you get to the point of the process, you have an inspector already ready for you. So we're gonna get right into Ryan because he is the money man, and so most people want to know about mortgages and what that looks like. So he has Home Buying 101 from a mortgage perspective. So there is Ryan.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shavon. Well, first of all, thanks, Shavon, for inviting me here. I'm super excited. I love working with Shavon. She's fantastic on her social media events, so I love that. So I'm Ryan Stewart with First Bank Texas. I'll tell you a little bit about the bank, and then I'll tell you a little bit about me, and then we'll get into mortgage. And feel free to ask questions throughout the thing. I mean, I'll open it up at the end, but you can interrupt me at any point. So I do work for First Bank Texas. We're actually the oldest bank in the state of Texas, chartered in the state of Texas. We've been around since 1880. And why that matters is because the same family that owned the bank back then owns the bank now. And so it's kind of a great thing that we're a big part of the community. We love to have customers. I love being in a bank. I used to be with a big mortgage company. I went back to a bank because I love having customers come to my office. Shavon's been in my office, although I had to bribe her to come out to Willow Park from Fort Worth. I told her I'd get her a hotel room since it was so far, but she made the trip. But anyway, that's the thing. The bank's great. We do all kinds of loans. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. I live out in Weatherford, got 2 kiddos. So just to kind of resonate what Shavon said, buying a house is such an important thing. It is an investment in yourself, your family, your financial future. And there's a lot of myths about buying a house. And people get nervous about it. People don't want to know about it. They think, oh, if I go down that route, I'm going to commit myself to something weird, whether it be my credit or whatever. And that's really what I wanted to talk about tonight, kind of disrupt some of those rumors and some of the things you probably think this is what it looks like to buy a house or why you're nervous to do it. So that's kind of where I started is, does it make you nervous to think about buying a house? Raise your hand if it makes you nervous. If you think, ooh, that just scares me. Why does it scare you? Just be honest. Just why does it make you nervous?
Oh, because I don't want to fail.
You don't want to fail, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. A lot of people have that same thought, okay? Because really the first thing I was going to talk about is credit. Because credit scares everybody, okay? And the worst thing you can do is not look at your credit and not know where you are. There are so many people, and Shavon and Leah can tell you about that. They'll send me a referral, whatever, and people are scared to want to look at their credit. And a lot of times I think people think, if I don't look at it, it can't hurt me. I don't have to know about it. It doesn't matter. Well, that's the absolute worst thing you can do. Because if something's going on with your credit and you don't know it, you have no way to fix it, okay? And I always sort of liken it to when you go to the doctor, if you have gangrene on your foot, whatever your problem is, that's the doctor's job, right? They aren't looking at you going, oh, you shouldn't have eaten this or you should have done this. I mean, their job is to take care of you. That's my job as a mortgage lender, okay? So if somebody comes to me and they have a 400 credit score, okay, let's get on the path to figure out how do we get that 400 up to where it needs to be for what they're trying to do to qualify, okay? It's not a judgment thing. It's not a, look down. I mean, it is what it is. We've all had those things in our lives that happen that we got to somewhere that we needed to get fixed. And if you don't get with a mortgage lender and a realtor and get on that path, you're just never going to know that, right? You're just going to kind of, to your point, just stay nervous and go, well, I don't want to do it. If I look, I'm going to be in trouble or someone's going to get mad at me or think badly of me or whatever. And it's like, that's just not the case, right? So credit is literally the #1 factor when buying a house. I mean, there's other things in there. There's income, all that kind of stuff too. But credit really drives so many pieces of you buying a house. It's going to affect your interest rate. It's going to affect your PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. And then we'll talk about that kind of depending on which loan product you're looking at. It's going to impact the type of loan that you qualify for. Okay, because some loans are going to have a lower credit threshold, some are going to be higher. So there's so many things that credit affects when you're buying a house. And so, like I said, if you don't know what that looks like, that's going to be a problem. Okay, and I encourage everybody. Just because it may not be right now doesn't mean it can't be 6 months from now, or 9 months from now, or a year from now. If we get you on that path and we start working together to get there, it can impact your homeowner's insurance. So again, having a better credit score is going to help you in buying a house for all kinds of reasons. It's going to save you money in the long run. Okay. Raise your hand here. Good too. This is honesty. We're all here. We're honest. Whatever. How many of you actually check your credit on a somewhat regular basis, monthly, quarterly? Okay, that's good. Y'all are good. That's not the majority. Couple things to tell you about credit. How many of you use credit? How many of you are using like Credit Karma or Credit Wise of the app? Okay, so a little caveat to that. Those are great indicators of where your credit is, but they are not accurate when you go to shop for a mortgage. Okay, I had this conversation with this guy today. He's like, I'm telling you, I'm in the 600 whatever, 583. I was like, you're not in the 600. And I was sad because I had already done all this income. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I was like, no, it's not. Okay, but we'll get there. But the reason I say that is because Credit Karma and Credit Wise, some of those, they're using models. There's hundreds of models out there, and that's the thing about credit. You know, we teach kids algebra and all these things, and I'm like, but we don't ever teach them about credit, how to write a checkbook, how to do your taxes, right? So we all kind of get into life and don't know how that looks. But those are really indicators of credit that are going to be more similar to if you're buying a car or you're opening a credit card, okay? So they're not necessarily going to be your mortgage score. So if you see, got a question?
Well, I was going to say, what about the ones that are offered like through your bank? So like Bank of America.
It kind of depends. And it's, and I'm not going to remember right now because I'm just not going to, but there's one specific model for each one of the bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax.
Okay.
And so if you call me or email me or text me, whatever, I can tell you what that is because it just depends on what model your bank's using and which one. But just in general, those are going to be off, and sometimes they can be 30, 40 points off. So, you know, you come in going, oh man, I'm in the high 600, it's like, oh no, you're, you know. So, again, no judgment, we just want to work on it, and I don't want anybody surprised, because I get that question, honestly, almost every day. Don't be an ostrich with your head in the sand. Check your credit, stay on top of it. If you've got stuff that's outstanding, if you've got stuff in collections, if you've got stuff that you don't, take care of that stuff. And the biggest thing is, do not make a late payment. There is nothing that will start hurting your credit faster than the late payment. So just, whatever you have to do, try to not let those things happen to you. The other big misnomer about credit is that credit's a bad thing. How many of you grew up or maybe thought your grandparents, your parents, whatever, cash is king, right? Don't have a credit card, you don't ever want to get a credit card, that's bad, that's bad. How many of you had that said to you or thought that somewhere in your head? I did. I mean, it was like, oh, you don't want credit, whatever. The reality isn't credit's bad, it's how you use credit that can be the problem, okay? Because having credit cards, if you have zero balances on a bunch of them, I have a bunch of credit cards, y'all. Every year I get a brand new one. Every year I do. Not one. There's a couple because I get points and some stuff. So there's some stuff, but I don't have them for that reason. I have them because when the bureaus go to score me, they look and go, oh my gosh, he has all this credit available. Now I guess one of these days if I just decide that this is it for me, I'm gonna charge them all up. But that's what I have them for, is to help, you know, bolster my credit score. So having credit is not a bad thing. So if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have a revolving account, go out there and get one. Put gas on it and pay it off. Put groceries on it, pay it off. You don't have to run up a bill and go out to eat I mean, that's not the reason to use it. So credit's not bad, it's just how you use it. It can be done wrong. Credit cards can help. Again, keeping those balances low. If you do have credit cards right now and you've got big balances, you want to try to get those at least under 30% utilization. If you can, you want to even try to get them as low as 10%. Okay, so if you've got $5,000, you want to try to get that down to, you know, less than what, $500 that you're using or keeping that balance, so that you're not utilizing that credit, so it shows you have more available. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the next thing is talk about really quick. Shavon, when do you want me to stop talking? Because I can just.
I made all the time.
Okay, well, these folks are like, okay, he needs to stop whenever, but I'm gonna try to go fast. But I'm here for any questions too. There's 3 expense categories that come up when you're buying a house too, and we always hear about down payment, right? Everybody knows down payment. That's the amount you're putting towards the house purchase, if you're going FHA, conventional, whatever that looks like. But there's some upfront things that no one ever thinks about, and that's things like your inspection, okay? Because that's going to be paid upfront before you even really, as soon as you go under contract, you're going to do the inspection. You're also going to put down earnest money, and that's your money telling the seller, I want to buy this house. This is kind of my personal guarantee of that I'm going to buy that property. But those are things that you're going to have to plan for up front. So typically earnest money, what, 1%? Something like that? So 1% of your sales price. So you need to have that money up front. Because I'm going to talk about down payment assistance program stuff in a minute, but those things don't cover some of this upfront stuff. So you're going to have inspection, earnest money, option, which is usually pretty small, and then also the appraisal. It's one of the only things as a lender I'm going to require you pay for up front and not at closing, and that's the appraisal. That's because when we get the appraisal back for your stuff, we have to pay them right then, okay? So we have to pay the appraiser when we get the report, and so if something happens, whatever, trust me, I've had it happen, and they take that out of my check, and I've paid for a few appraisals in my day, and so I don't like doing that if I don't have to. So you got upfront expenses, which are those things. You got your down payment, which again is going to be a percentage of your purchase price, depending on if you're going conventional or FHA, and then you got your closing costs. And a lot of times people get those two confused or think it's all one whatever. That really is two distinct things. Down payment is what you're taking kind of as your personal investment into the house that you're putting down. The closing costs are all the fees associated with it. So that's the fees we charge as a lender for underwriting, processing. You got your title, survey, flood certificate, recording fees, survey. Those are all the things that fall into your closing cost bucket, okay? So I like to just kind of call that out because a lot of times people will say, well, I have the money for my down payment. Okay, but what about closing costs? Or, I'm going to get down payment assistance. Okay, but that helps with a portion of that, but it's not going to take care of your appraisal and all that stuff on the front end. So you can't, have $10 in your bank account and tell me you want to go buy a $300,000 house, even if we're going to get down payment assistance, because I know you got to have money up on the front end. I can't, in good conscience, say, oh yeah, go do that, because you're not going to be able to execute the contract, and then it's frustrating for you and for your realtor. So, different loan types, and this is where credit score kind of comes into play. You got conventional, which is typically going to be putting anywhere between 5 and 20% down. Okay, if you put anything less than 20% down, you're going to have what's called private mortgage insurance, and that's for lenders to say if you defaulted on the loan, we're still going to get paid back for that. FHA, same thing. You're going to have that for the life of the loan on FHA loans. FHA is a little bit better, and for a first-time home buyer, they are a little bit more favorable. They only require 3.5% down. They usually typically have a little bit better rate. And so, again, these are all things. I'm just kind of hitting the highlights as you start to talk to hopefully me as your lender about buying. We'll figure out the best product for you and what that looks like. Okay, you got VA loans, so obviously you've been a veteran, served in the military. That's an awesome option. There's so many great things about a VA loan. USDA, it's going to be more rural. It's specific to rural locations. The house has to qualify, as do you as the borrower. So there's some things there a little bit different. And then, like I said, there are down payment assistance programs, and they are fantastic, but they are assistance. They are not 100% financing. They aren't going to cover all those upfront fees, and they're not necessarily going to cover all of your closing costs or even your down payment. So options out there, but again, that's why you want to give me a call and let's talk about what options work for you. And then you have gift funds. You can receive gift funds in all these transactions as well. So if you've got an aunt or uncle who just their money burning a hole in their pocket and they want to give you $10,000 to buy your house, you can do that too. So anyway, kind of the last couple things I would say, one of my last pieces of advice is get pre-approved. Most of the time that's not a problem. I know Leah, Shavon, they're not going to show houses. They're not going to take you and drag you all over the Metroplex looking at houses without a pre-approval letter, because they want to know, just like I do, that you have the funds and the ability to truly pull the trigger on that contract, and not just go from contract and get to the closing table, because that's what we all want for everybody. So get pre-approved. Don't be scared of that. And again, that may mean that it's a 6-month process, an 8-month process, but that's okay. I'm always sad after I have somebody that I worked with for like a year. I've talked to them, every week for a year, and then we close, and I'm like, well, okay, like you become friends. It's like, it's so weird. I've had that recently on several, and I'm like, well. Or agents like that too. So it also gives you better confidence in shopping. You can go out there knowing I can make this offer. My lender knows what what my income looks like, what my bank account looks like, all that kind of stuff, so that you can go out there and truly make a a qualified offer that you're comfortable with. It also allows you to know your budget, okay? So, because we're gonna go through, here's your estimated payments, here's what taxes look like, here's what insurance looks like, here's what that's, in total gonna look like for you on a monthly basis, because a lot of people think, I want to buy this house. Well, it may be within your debt to income ratio guidelines for me, but it may not be in your comfort level, which is what Shavon was saying about a fiduciary responsibility. I have that same thing too. Just because you could do it technically on paper, that may not be the best thing for you because there's something else you want to save for, whatever it is. So we need to have all those conversations and discuss the best options. But you can also then plan ahead for savings, because just because you buy a house, new, old, otherwise, things happen, okay? Kid breaks the window, the refrigerator dies, you need a new washing machine, whatever it is, you want to be able to plan ahead for those expenses because stuff comes up. I've had my house for now 5 years, and trust me, every summer it's like, well, here we go, and new stuff. Remember, your lender's here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to educate. I'm here to inform, answer questions, just like your realtor is. That's my job. And then, pick a great agent, which you guys have obviously done that. Debt to income ratio is going to be, if you ever want to calculate yourself a little bit, you can do that. It's your monthly expenses, your recurring expenses like credit cards, car payments, student loans, versus your gross monthly income, okay? And people sometimes think it's, what's on your check stub at the end of the day. It's not. We're looking at your gross. So we're looking at before taxes, if you're putting back for 401k, whatever, that kind of stuff. So just think about that. Employment, you want to have a 2-year work history, okay? I have somebody that, like last week, called me. She wanted to get qualified, and she literally started working like 3 months ago. And I'm like, we just don't have that. We've got to have a 2-year history, preferably in the same line of work, or at least we can try to, pull that together if something changed. But you don't want to change if you were 1099 and go to W-2. Well, actually, that's not a bad thing. But if you go like W-2 and then to 1099, that can make things a little bit rougher. There are some different programs out there, 1099 loans, bank statement loans, stuff like that. But again, that's all things we can get in depth at later. And one piece of advice I tell people, or I would suggest all of you, if you don't have this, do this. Go home this weekend when you have a moment, start a file for, if you really are planning on buying a house in the next 6 months, year, 2, whatever, start a file this is for home buying. When you get your W-2, after you do your taxes, put your W-2s in there. Make a copy of your Social Security card and put it in there. You're not going to necessarily want your pay stubs in there because I'm going to need your most recent ones. You're not going to need your bank statements because I'm going to need most. But those documents that we're going to have, so your tax returns, potentially if you're self-employed, your W-2s, your Social Security card, make yourself a folder and keep it somewhere safe. Because I'm telling you right now, I have a guy who's like, I don't know where my Social Security card is. I think it's at my mom's house in Florida. I may have to fly to Florida to get it. And I'm like, just make it easier on yourself to have that stuff readily available because I will, or a lender will need that stuff. So start yourself a file, keep stuff in there. When you're stuff like this, you can put notes in there. Just it'll help you as you go down that process. So that's kind of my spiel. I went really fast, I know, and kind of hit the highlights. But what questions do you have? What again are the big fears you have about buying a house? What are the misnomers? Everyone thinks you have to have 20% down. You don't. So that's one of the big myths I hear all the time is I've got to have 20% down, and that's just not the case. So what else? What else have you heard, not heard?
The pre-approval process, is that a credit pull?
It is a credit pull. It is a hard credit pull, yes. So what you're going to do for pre-approval is I'm going to send you my online application link. You're going to fill that out. It's going to ask you, where you work, how long you've lived at, your current residence, your past residence, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to ask you for documents, like if you're W-2, I'm going to ask you for your 2 years W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements. And that's the other thing too, is some lenders will do what's called a pre-qual, and that's really you fill out the application and they believe what you tell them. I'm not saying that everyone's not telling the truth, but sometimes you might underestimate what you make, you might have missed something. So I'm always going to ask for as much documentation up front because that makes sure that when I send you a letter, I'm 99.9% sure we're going to get to the closing table. I mean, I can't say that I've never had anything, but I've never had a loan once we went under contract fall out because I didn't do my job. Just saying, because that is I can't even fathom having that happen. I wouldn't sleep. I don't sleep as it is really, but that would make me really stressed out. So I'm going to ask for that stuff up front so that I can make sure when you guys are out there shopping, you're going to get to the closing table. We're not going to run into a problem. Unless there's something you just didn't tell me or something pops up. I mean, stuff does happen, but it shouldn't be for that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, so it's not a hard process.
Okay. Let's just say you go in and you've got your your credit cards paid off, you got your cars paid off, you got your personal loans paid off, but then you go and then you have at the end of the day like this big house loan, and that's this house, the balance of your house on your credit. Does your debt to income ratio just affects your credit score when it comes to that? Because I'm trying to figure out like, okay, how is that effective if you got all that other stuff paid off and you got the big old house loan on your credit?
Well, it's going to affect your debt to income ratio only in the fact that you're trying to keep that house for the next one. Because let's just say you're in a house now and you got a big monthly payment. Ultimately, I'm going to ask you two things. Okay, are you selling this property, or are you going to try to keep this property for an investment? If it's for an investment and you're like, no, I want to keep this and qualify for both, keeping this payment too, then we have to look at that a little differently and say, okay, are you leasing it out? If so, there's some guidelines and some percentages I can use to offset that. If you're selling it, we don't take that into account. You're going to sell that before you close on the other house or simultaneously or whatever. Does that answer your question? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, like,
or is it just as far as how your credit score is going to be calculated?
Yeah, because like, well, I'm saying like after you've already closed on the house, you got the balance or the
right.
the whole
Yeah.
the whole loan on your credit, but then you got all the stuff paid off.
Right.
I'm just checking to see like how that's going to affect your credit score. Like, okay, you got this big old house on your credit, but then you got everything else.
It's not so much about the balance, and that's the thing too with like student loans or car payments. People get nervous about that. It's really about that monthly payment, but that's not so much not going to have the impact on your credit score as much as I've got a mortgage, which is your highest and best use of credit. People will go out there and they'll save $10 at Kohl's to save on their jeans they're going to buy, but they don't ever want to do a credit pull to see if they can buy a house. I never understand that. I'm like, why don't we just not buy the jeans, and why don't we actually buy a house? I just, and I get it, but you're like, oh, I'm going to save $20 at Best Buy today. Are you really? Like, don't do that. Just forgo that, pay the extra 20%, and put yourself in a better. So that's not necessarily going to affect your credit scores much, because really it's going to be about your payment history. And I should have brought a slide for it. It's about 30% of your score is based on your payment history. So that's probably the biggest piece of it. And then how many revolving accounts you have. Your oldest, you want to have as much established credit as possible, which real quick, I didn't think about this. If you do have credit cards, you can pay them all off, which is no problem with. Do not close them. That is the worst thing you can do, because you just took this available credit you had and said, I just did this to it. So it stops you there too. So so that really, you having a big house payment isn't going to affect necessarily your credit score, as long as you're making that payment on time. Your other stuff's paid off, so you shouldn't have a problem there. Yeah. What else?
Sorry, I have a question to ask you.
You're good.
Do approvals expire?
They do. They're good for 90 days, and that's because credit reports are only good for 90 days. And so people always are like, oh, what if I don't find something, whatever. It's not like we're really starting over. It really just means that I need to pull a new credit report, and at that point we'd want to say, okay, has anything changed at your job? Did you quit? Did you retire? Did you leave? Did you get a raise? Hey, we need to look at new assets, because you gave me bank statements probably at the beginning, and I said, hey, you're good to go. But people spend money. I had a lady last week, again, no names or anything, but we started out, she had $20,000 in one account and a stock account that was worth $54,000, and I got to her April statements, and they had both reduced by $25,000. I was like, well, okay. She just couldn't understand why I had a problem. I was like, well, that took a lot of what we were using for, So really after that 90 days, I'm going to do that. I'm going to re-pull credit, make sure that you're still, qualifying. And hopefully in that time frame, maybe you were at a, 680. Maybe in that time frame, we're working on stuff, you get past the 700, because that again is going to affect your rate. But that's really all that pre-approval is going to start over. It's just kind of reaffirming everything that we did, the 90 days prior.
Is that another hard pull?
How does that affect your credit when they pull it? If you
honestly, most of the time on a mortgage pull, it may not even it may not impact your credit score at all. If it does, it could only be just a few points. So what you want to avoid and what kills people is when you're out there shopping and getting Best Buy credit cards and opening that kind of thing, because inquiries do, they will start to affect your credit score. But a true just mortgage pull is really not going to affect your credit score. I mean, you're not going to see some massive 30-point drop, in your credit score. You might see a couple of points here or there. But we take that snapshot. It's not like if you fill the application in for me tomorrow and I pull credit, it's not like I'm looking at it next Tuesday going, well, now I dropped another couple. We take a snapshot in time. We're trying to tell a picture from that point in time and go forward until it expires. Or until maybe you said you paid a bunch of stuff off and you want me to rescore, we can do that too. But ultimately we're taking that snapshot and that's what we're going to run with for qualifying. Because by law, I have to decision loan even an application within 30 days. So I either have to tell you you're pre-approved or not, even if you're under contract. I can't just let it linger out there forever and not do anything with it. So, yeah.
To piggyback off of what she was asking about, when it comes to the pull for getting pre-qualified, you said it was it's good for 90 days.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out like how long we got to deal with like all these other lenders, calling after we've gotten pre-approved.
So that's a good one right there. So who was it? I think Leah called me. Leah was like, "Brian, what did you do?" And I was like, "I didn't do anything." But it honestly, y'all, and it is true. There's legislation in place. It is actually the credit bureaus, because that's published. It's called trigger leads, and they are horrible. And if I could stop them, I would. I don't do them. I'm not selling your information. My bank's not giving out your information. It's the credit bureaus, and so you are going to see that. If you fill out an application with me tomorrow, you're going to get. And they're like, "Oh, I can get you pre-approved. I can give you the pie in the sky. I can, that's what they do." And you have to decide. And some people will go that way. They say, "Oh, but they offered me the, okay, then go." And then, like today, I had a guy that I canceled 2 days ago, and he came back and he goes, "Okay, can you restart my application?" I was like, just gonna say, I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. That's the thing. And not saying anybody else is, but if it sounds too good to be true, sometimes it kind of is. Honestly, nothing's free. Nothing's. Sometimes it is. But anyway, but yeah. But yes, that's trigger leads, and yes, they are annoying, and yes, people call me and say, "What did you do? Who's?"
Yes, they're horrible. They really. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have big family and whatnot. So what about like gift funds? Towards down payment. Talk a little bit on that.
So you can absolutely get gift funds. So like I said, if you do that, really all we're going to be having to do is get a gift letter. So let's say Auntie has a $30,000 she wants to give you for a house. Great, love that. She didn't have any kids. You're her favorite niece or nephew. All about that all day long. They can she can do that. We just have to get a gift letter from her, and we're going to have to source those funds. Okay. And really, people get so annoyed about the whole sourcing of funds and like, I did this and I moved money here. And ultimately, it's not us. It's not because I don't believe you. It's truly the government regulates mortgage to say we have to make sure in our industry that funds are not coming from a bad place, okay? Whatever that may be, okay? From illegal activity of some sort. And so that's what it's all about. And so even if she gives you those gift funds, we've got to make sure that it didn't happen, that she wasn't doing something she shouldn't have been doing to give you those gift funds. So, so that's what it's all about. But you absolutely can get gift funds. We just do a gift letter, source those funds. They can wire it to title. They can give you a cashier's check, all that kind of stuff. So,
is it certain family members that can do that?
You have to be related, yeah. So you can't have usually a friend that does it. You can't, say, "Hey, my neighbor John wants to give me $25,000, whatever." Typically, they have to be related of some sort. It kind of depends on the situation. If you're engaged to somebody and you've got that, we can show like an engagement letter. I've had sort of those scenarios happen before too. So, but typically it needs to be someone that you're related to or going to be related to that's doing that.
Can I make them prove that y'all related? Like, how do y'all know?
Sometimes they will. Sometimes if you say like, "This is my fiance," whatever, I've had underwriters who will say, "Hey, can you show me an engagement letter? Can you give me something that shows they're actually engaged?" So honestly, some of that stuff becomes an underwriter's call as to what they feel like, but ultimately it needs to be somebody you're related to. And don't get married on paper just to buy a house, okay? We can find a different route. I've had people say that to me. They were planning on getting married. She's like, "Well, if we need to go this weekend to get married," I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not here to change anybody's world. We'll figure out something else. No, don't do that." So anyway, what else? Anything?
Where can we get an accurate or somewhat accurate look at our credit score?
So your best bet is actually to go. There's like a couple different websites, but the one I always tell people is go to like freecreditreport.com. And it will actually give you, and it's actually a tri-merge that you're going to have all three bureaus on there, and it's going to give you all that stuff, and it's going to go back all that time, because most things will stay on your credit for 7 years, but like if you have a negative something or other, like a late payment, typically 2 years, it's still going to be on there, but it's going to have less impact after 24 months, okay? So that's something important to think about. I'm sure I've left stuff out, but yeah, freecreditreport.com, you can get one free one per year. And that's the thing, people apply with me and they're like, "Can you send me my credit report?" I really can't by law because, one, you didn't pay for it. Unless you are finishing with the house, then we'll give you one, obviously. But you didn't really pay for it. And a mortgage report looks different than a consumer report, okay? So that's one thing people get frustrated with. Well, even with my credit report, well, I really by law I can't. So I can give you some snapshots and I'll give you the information. I'll tell you who the creditor is, all that kind of stuff if you're trying to clean something up. But I really can't give you the actual report if it's just, unless we're moving forward. You know, like if I deny someone, they're always like, well, send me my report. And I'm like, well, I can't. So, but go out there and get it and know where you're at and call me with questions. I mean, honestly, even if you're not buying, if you just are looking at it, go, Ryan, help me understand this, explain this to me, whatever. I'm happy to do that. Because, well, somebody should, right? I mean, like I said, we weren't taught that stuff, and so you kind of learn as you go. And a lot I didn't know until I got into the mortgage too. So, what else?
So, you can go.
So what if you possibly have to buy a car in the process?
Don't.
Oh, God.
That's not true. Here's the deal. That's actually not true. That's actually not true. And honestly, this is the thing. And I actually, in that packet, I'm going to grab a folder so I can tell you what's in it. Oh, my little folder. Just so I can tell you what's in it.
Oh, yeah.
So you can grab one. And it's not anything that's earth-shattering by any stretch. But, there's this little home loan document checklist in here. This is just going to tell you kind of the documents that I'm going to need whenever you're going through the pre-approval process, okay? It's got everything on here. If you're not self-employed, I don't need to see your tax returns. But it's kind of down here. I have some be sure you don't open new credit lines. Once you make application, don't open new credit lines. Don't make large purchases on your credit cards. Don't change or quit your job. That's happened too. Don't make late payments. Don't co-sign for a loan. That's happened. Don't make large withdrawals or deposits from your bank accounts. And do discuss with me anything, any of the above, or if you have any questions or aren't sure. So what I say about cars, you can buy a car, but let's paint the scenario. Let's say you applied, you had a car payment of $500, okay, and your car died, whatever happened, okay, you had to buy a new car. As long as we already had a $500 payment, we're not going to have a problem because we got another $500 car payment. Okay, we're going to kind of replace one. What happens, what people do is, they apply with me, whatever, and they think at some point we're not going to find out. And honestly, we look way too much into everything. I mean, it just is. By the time we get done, I know everything. I don't care. Again, no judgment. It is what it is. So what people often do is they go buy another car, and then not every loan type and not every lender, but if we do like another soft pull or we find something on, I don't know, there's so many reports we run for all kinds of stuff, and find out, oh gosh, you went and bought a car that you didn't tell me you had in the first place, or it's brand new. Well, if that goes and puts your debt to income ratio over, then you're out of luck. So what I would say is if something happens, again, it's 30 days typically off. Once you go under contract, we're talking 30 days, okay? Because we're going to re-verify everything. Even if you get pre-approved and you've got that letter for 60 days, but then you find the perfect house, we're going to reaffirm all that at that very beginning when you go under contract, okay? So you're really talking about 25 to 28 days, okay? We cannot put stuff on credit cards. We cannot go buy new vehicles. We cannot go buy the washer and dryer and the refrigerator all for 28 days, right? I mean, it's just not. I mean, I've had people like, well, I know, but I've got to go this weekend and buy the washer. You haven't even bought the house yet. How about you get the house? I guarantee you Best Buy's going to have another sale for you to save 10% off at some point. So why don't we get the house? Then you can get the appliances. So just don't make a bunch of changes once you apply, because again, we're going to look at that snapshot in time. What are your liabilities? What is your income? All that stuff. So any changes to that is where we get thrown off, and people, then we get down the road and we're like, oh my gosh, this came out of nowhere and I didn't know it happened, or So, what else? Was somebody else?
Oh,
yeah.
Here's me. When it comes to, let me see. So when it comes to getting the credit report, like you said, there's a consumer report and then the mortgage report. So we'll never be privy to what the actual score is for.
Oh no, you will absolutely be privy to it because I'll tell you what it is. Absolutely.
I mean, we can't do it ourselves.
You can't really do it yourself. I don't know. It depends on the report, and some of them are probably going to show you the model they use, and it may show you a breakdown of this is what you would qualify for credit. I've seen that. But ultimately, if you apply with me, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I'm going to tell you, here's your TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. I'll go through your credit report and tell you, hey, this was an issue, this if we did this, whatever that scenario is. So, and you probably can Google out there. I honestly haven't done it because I've been running it from my side of the world for so long. There's probably a way to go out there and probably actually Google credit reports, that actually show your mortgage score or something like that. So, or it may be an option when you go to free credit report nowadays. I just don't know that. Like I said, I've just been doing it my side for a long time.
I've heard the most accurate is the My FICO score.
Okay.
They say that's as closest
To get to it, yeah.
That's what.
So that's why, yeah, you might try that and
might be
see.
the closest.
Credit Karma and Credit Wise are bad. Not bad, they just,
But that's the
they are always, I
it's
mean,
the
yeah.
Vantage score.
Even
so
my
they're
own,
trying
I'm like,
to-
really, that's not accurate.
Right.
All right, anything else? Well, you got all my information. Oh, yeah.
Do any of your clients ever request like manual underwriting, and does that change?
So the only time we really do, well, okay, so when you talk manual underwriting, that really means that ultimately there's a thing called DU and LP, which is automated underwriting system, and that's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who oversees all mortgage. We run everybody through that, ultimately, if you're going onto the secondary market, okay? Let's say, but somebody has certain credit issues that, you know, that we get what's called refer eligible on their findings from AUS, then it may be an instance where I have to send the underwriter to have them manually underwritten. And that's more about, and honestly, when you talk manual underwriting, so I work for a bank, we have a portfolio too. So, and again, this gets way into all the mortgage craziness, but there's the secondary market, which is like your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA conventional loans, okay? But then you also have banks like mine who we actually have a portfolio of loans too. So let's say your loan can't go in the secondary market for whatever reason. There are options where I can keep that in-house. And my underwriters are going to manually underwrite every file we do in-house. Okay? They're going to look at every single loan and underwrite that and do it that way. So it's kind of depending on where you're at. But again, that's lots of mortgage craziness. So anything else?
So I'm about to say we gotta stop so because you know how I am about time.
Yes.
I said y'all gonna be out at 7:30 and I'm at 7:29. Everybody will be at the door.
Well, thank you guys so much. You got all my cards,
I'm about to
info.
say,
Please
you
reach
have
out.
Ryan's information,
Absolutely.
so call him, email him.
Come out to Willow Park.
Come, yeah, you can. I drove all the way to
She
Weatherford.
did. It was,
I hate driving. And I had a good time at their office. So now we will have John Withenrex, who's actually the salesperson for this home. So he'll tell you what D.R. Horton has to offer and tell you about their features.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
And John sponsored the food and stuff in the location. So y'all
No, I didn't get that. So my name's John Witherwax. I'm the sales agent for Parkview Estates, the D.R. Horton community that you're in. Anybody familiar with D.R. Horton? No? Nobody? Yes? Yeah? A few people? Okay. Oh, actually, before I start saying anything about D.R. Horton, I want to talk about these two gentlemen that gave you some information. Derek, right?
Yes.
Derek and Ryan. So I just met them tonight. I don't work with them. I can do everything about what I do through my transactions without them start to finish. But every single thing that they told you guys tonight was absolutely correct. Everything that Derek said, I hear it over and over and I see it over and over. So I've been with D.R. Horton about 6 years. I've done close to 700 transactions. And I can start to finish, get you in a home without ever having a third-party inspector. And every single person that ever asked me about it, I recommend get a third-party inspector. Absolutely. I sell a lot of homes and I sleep real soundly at night knowing that all of those people are taken care of. When Derek comes in and he looks at your home, everything that he's gonna find, everything that he puts on that report, I immediately take that report. When he sends it to you, you can send it to me or your agent will send it to me. I immediately pass it on to the superintendents and they do everything they can to address every single thing that Derek found. So to say that when these homes are built, that there's not something missed, there's not mistakes made, that would be untrue. There absolutely are. These homes are put together by hand. And all you've got to do if you want to see that is just go across the street, all right? There are dozens and dozens of people out there right there building those homes. So everything that Derek said is absolutely true. The other thing I want to say about that is every home I've ever sold, immediately after contract, that person and their entire family becomes construction experts. Every single time without fail. So everybody that you bring, everybody that you enlist, everyone you tell you're buying a home, they're going to have an opinion. Pay somebody who knows what they're talking about to look at it, all right? The house, I can tell you exactly how much the house is worth and how much it's going to cost, but only you know how much peace of mind is worth, okay? I know what you're going to pay for it, but only you know how much it's worth. So, and then everything that Ryan said, 100% true. I tell folks all the time, that pre-qual application that you do is your roadmap to figure out how to get you in a house. Do one. If you haven't done one yet, do one. It's just going to tell you exactly what the steps are. Can you be in one in 30 days? Is it going to take you 60 days? Is it going to take you 180? just get it done, let him look at it, let him be the expert at your financial profile, let him tell you what it's gonna take to get the house. If you don't buy a house from me, buy a house. All right, buy it from somebody. There's no reason you should be renting. If you've been renting all this time, you've been renting for years, there's no reason, right? I'm not the first person who's gonna say it to you, probably not the first time you heard it, but what is it that they say, Shavon, about home ownership? It's the number one
path to wealth.
Path to generational wealth. It's the number one thing you can do for your kids. Get a house, okay? So anyway, that's just a little soapbox about what Derek and Ryan brought to the table. What I bring to the table is to help educate you about what we build and help you fall in love with the house. I don't make you fall in love with the house, I help you fall in love with the house. We're gonna find one that's gonna fit the budget, fit the time frame, the flow, the layout. All my job is to educate you about the house, tell you about how we build it, what we build, what you're gonna get, and then walk you through floor plans until you find something that makes your heart sing, right? And when you do, then it's an easy process. I don't sell anything, I just tell you about the house. Everything else, it happens. So I don't have much more to say about it. This is one of several communities that we have on the east side. D.R. Horton is divided into two divisions. There's the east side or the Dallas side, and then there's the west side or the Fort Worth side, right? D.R. Horton, in case you don't know, is the nation's largest production builder. We started right here in Fort Worth 45 years ago. Donald Horton, D.R. Horton, started the company as a general contractor. He built his first home and then grew that to what is now the nation's largest publicly traded home builder. There it is. We are larger than our number 2 and 3 competitors combined. So all that means for you guys is this is the name brand when it comes to inventory production homes. There's a big difference between production or inventory homes versus custom homes, right? Custom homes is a different experience, right? It's a different conversation. With custom homes, you can have anything you want, you sprinkle enough money on it, right? With production homes, the analogy I like to use is like you're buying a car, okay? It's like you showed up to the lot and you're picking something that is on the lot or something that is en route to the lot. In both cases, most of the selections, almost all of them are probably gonna already be set in stone, and you'll know what you're gonna get before you get the keys, right? So we build several different series of homes, and to kind of continue with that car analogy, the series, you can think of it like trim levels on a car. So as we step through those trim levels, you're gonna get a little bit higher features, maybe a little bit more buttons, more cup holders, right? Finish out's gonna be a little bit higher. Of course, the price tag's gonna go up a little bit. So it's just about finding the series that you wanna be in, finding the one that fits your budget, finding the one that fits, family needs. This particular series, super simple. Everything that you see in the model home is typically gonna be what you're gonna see in the homes that we're building, right? And that's wall and ceiling color, cabinets, countertops, hard floor, and carpet. So the model home should be a great illustration of what you're gonna expect to see. Sometimes there's some differences, like with this model, for instance. This model was built 2 years ago to sell what was phase 4, these homes to the south of me. What I'm selling and building right now is technically phase 3, and that's the homes across the street, so we've made some changes. Those homes are all gonna come with granite countertops instead of the laminate, and white painted cabinets instead of the darker stain. Okay, that's just a little bit about the differences. Every community you build is going to be slightly different. Even if it's the same series, there's going to be some slight differences. So please always ask the sales rep there, ask the sales agent to kind of walk you through what you're going to get. If for some reason I ever send folks who are shopping with me to another community to view some examples, I'm always very conscious about telling them what they're going to see there and how it's going to differ here. Most of the transactions, especially the ones that Ryan was talking about, 30-day transactions, meaning you find a home, it's going to take you about 30 days to get into it. Sometimes with me, with new builds, new construction, it could be a little bit longer. That 6-month, 4-month time frame is not, uncommon, and that's a long time to remember small details about the house. So that's where I come in, constantly answering questions, kind of reminding you about what you're getting, what we're building, where it's at in the process, things like that. So this house that you're standing in, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,083 square feet is the most popular plan. The model home always is because you can see it. This is the only thing I have complete here to show. I have 7 other homes available for contract of various floor plans, but I don't have anything 100% ready, right? Will probably be sold out before I have another home in the community that is ready in this level of completion. So, but Shavon's gonna have all the information about what inventory we do have. But my biggest recommendation for you guys would be take one of Derek's cards, hang on to it, and then do a pre-qual with Ryan. I mean, that's the first step. So, any questions for me? No?
No.
Okay. Okay, well, thank y'all for coming out. Shavon, I don't know what you got next for.
We just have to do the last of the raffles.
Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. Well, thank y'all. If y'all have any questions for me, I'll give you my card and info. I'm happy to point you guys in the direction of whatever community you build. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good part too. That's a grand prize.
Yeah, that's the grand prize. So thank y'all for coming. These are the last 2 raffles. And so some of y'all weren't here when I said this. When y'all leave, I need y'all to do a video with a lot of energy saying, oh my gosh, I learned so much from House Hunting Happy Hour, so I can continue to do intimate stuff like this. And vendors want to partner with me to do it, right? So
Vendors.
Vendors.
And next time bring a friend.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You had those notepads, right? So on those notepads, write down a name and a phone number of somebody that I can help. So whether they're trying to sell a house, buy a house, write their name down. We're going to put them in this box. Just text them and say, a realtor may call you tomorrow. Y'all know me. I don't harass people. So if they be like, girl, I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk to you either. But if you know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest, meaning they already have a house but they're looking for a rent house, put their name and phone number and email address down if you have that information. Tell them I'm going to reach out to them, and we'll go from there. So the first one is Ellis. You just won $25 to, what is this?
What is it called? I can't remember.
The pie place.
The pie place is off Cambodia.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's like when we pass this message.
Yeah.
I brought food stuff. I'm sorry.
Right. All right, and then the next one is, but everybody will leave with something. I got something for everybody. Monica, you just won this Outback. Outback Steakhouse. And then everybody's leaving with a coupon for 5 free wings from Pluckers. Tell them your realtor got you. Y'all know people give me stuff and I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to this and give it to my people. So where do my coupons at? They're in that box. Yeah, give me everybody. You get 5 wings. You get 5. Now you do have to spend $2. So get you a drink. Yeah, just get you a drink. Or some fries. Get you 2 ranch. Right. And then boom, you get your 5 free wings. So again, you can take time to look around this house if you want to. The master bedroom. The primary bedroom is over here.
It's not a mouse?
No, it's not the master. It's the owner's suite or primary area. It's back this way. So when you walk in to your left side, when you see that sofa set, that's your actual garage. So that would be the garage where those sofas are up front. Other than that, the other rooms are all bedrooms, like it's supposed to be. And thank y'all for coming. So y'all just gonna take that iPhone right there when you get ready to leave and just say something nice in it. I'm gonna have my people edit it, and we're gonna do a little reel saying, "Oh my God, I learned so much." Please,
everybody gonna say that.
Everybody say that. Please eat the food and the cookies and take some drinks. And thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.